Hello dear students, you are welcome in this video. Dear students, we are making videos on Indian knowledge system and probably this is the third video in the same series. So here we have a book called Introduction to Indian Knowledge System which is written by Mr. Rohidas Nitonde, who is the chairman of Board of Studies in English in Swami Ramanand Tirth Marathwada University, Nanded. And dear students, we are making a series on the same and we are understanding what is Indian knowledge system and what is its importance after national education policy has been launched in 2020, and it is one of the major subjects in the same policy. Now in this video we'll talk about objectives of IKS, means objectives of Indian knowledge system. So let's understand what are the objectives of Indian knowledge system in this video. Here we have a very prime objective, or the objectives of IKS here you can see are multifaceted, or we can say that we have different types of objectives of the Indian knowledge system, and it is basically aimed to preserve, promote and integrate the rich and diverse traditional knowledge of India into contemporary society. So what is the prime objective of Indian knowledge system? The prime objective of Indian knowledge system is that it aims to preserve, protect and integrate the ancient knowledge with the contemporary India or with the contemporary Indian society. So this is the prime objective of the Indian knowledge system. Now let's understand what are other objectives that are very important while studying Indian knowledge system. So here we have different types of objectives. Very first, here you can see the very first objective of IKS is preservation of traditional knowledge. Now as we all know that we have a vast body of traditional knowledge or ancient knowledge existed in India. To preserve is one of the prime objective of IKS. And how we are going to preserve this ancient knowledge? Through documentation of oral practices, because we know that we have a lot of oral traditions existed in India, and we can preserve all those oral traditions through documentation. So this is one of the means to preserve the Indian knowledge system or Indian knowledge or ancient Indian knowledge. Second, wisdom and conservation of texts, manuscripts and artifacts. So these all things are very important in the preservation. So we will preserve our ancient wisdom, our conservation of texts. So there are literary texts, manuscripts in which we find great Indian knowledge of different fields of different sectors. So we can preserve all these knowledge through documentation. This is the first objective. Here we have second objective, that is promotion and awareness, because it is very important to make people aware about ancient knowledge. So we have a vast body of ancient knowledge, but most of the people or students or scholars are not aware about this vast body of ancient knowledge. So this is the objective, to promote and aware people about this Indian knowledge or ancient knowledge, and to integrate. So how we are going to make aware people about Indian knowledge or the ancient knowledge? By integration of IKS in formal education. So we'll introduce the subjects. Now we are studying IKS as a subject for our UG level, different types of levels of students. So this through this way we can promote or make aware people. Again, this awareness can be sought through different types of campaigns, seminars, exhibitions and workshops. So we can organize different types of seminars, workshops based on Indian knowledge system or ancient knowledge in particular field, or as a collective effort. So this is the second objective of Indian knowledge system, or the second objective of this paper. Here we have third objective, research and development. So this is very important objective, because through research and development we are going to preserve or document our ancient knowledge. So in which field we can research? Here we can research in multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary fields. For example, if we are doing if we are doing research in humanities, that research can be related to the science field or the other field. For example, if someone is researching in the ancient architecture, so ancient architecture may lead to geology, geography, history, different types of multi-disciplines. So in this way we can preserve our ancient knowledge. Then revitalization of traditional practices and crafts. So research is very important for revitalization of all these traditional crafts and traditional practices. We have a lot of traditional practices, and through these traditional practices we can find that people get employment, and we can revitalize, or we can reinvent these crafts and practices, and so that we can increase the scope for employment. So this is also one of the objectives. The fourth objective here, we have sustainable development. Sustainable development is very important nowadays, because we find that we are surrounded by different types of pollutions. Water pollution, we have air pollution, we have sound pollution, different types of pollutions, and through these pollutions we find that it has a very bad impact on the environment. So it is our responsibility that there should be sustainable development. And what we can do for sustainable development? So we can apply the traditional ecological knowledge to contemporary problems and promote holistic health practices. For example, we have Ayurveda and yoga. So we can apply this traditional knowledge and these traditional practices, and we can solve up to some extent the problems we are facing right now, the problems of ecology, the problems of environment. So this is also one of the important objectives of the same. Let's move to the next objective. Here we have fifth objective, and that is economic empowerment. So economic empowerment is very important, because all people have a right to live equally. So they must find economic development, or they must have prosperity, and for that we can support the traditional crafts, we can support agriculture, we can support arts and cultural industries. So this is again, we can say that in a way we can expand the scope of employment, and we can support all these traditional practices and traditional crafts, agriculture or cultural industries. So this is the objective. The sixth objective of IKS, here we have cultural identity and heritage, because we are rooted in our culture, and so that we must proud of our culture, and we must preserve our cultural identity and heritage. For that, what we can do, we can we can revive our culture, community, and we can empower our community through traditional knowledge and traditional practices. So we must give support to all these traditional knowledge and traditional practices, arts or crafts, so that we actually, this arts and crafts is not a single entity, it has attached an identity with it. So we can preserve cultural identity by supporting all these crafts and arts. So this is the sixth objective. Now we have seventh objective, that is ethical and legal framework. Now what is this ethical and legal framework? It is nothing but to establish legal framework to protect intellectual property rights. Now we have different types of artifacts or arts, or we have different types of wisdom, knowledge, practices, traditions. We can preserve them by applying for this intellectual property rights, because we have exclusive property rights, intellectual property rights of all these elements or all these practices. So through this we can have ethical practice, and we can provide to it legal framework also. So ethical use of traditional knowledge. Now it is very important that we can share our knowledge with others, but there must be ethical use, there must be follow some kind of values there, and ethics while sharing all this knowledge. So this is the ethical and legal framework. The last objective of IKS, here we have global integration. So this objective is again have a very broader perspective. In this perspective, what we can do, we can collaborate and share our knowledge with the global, as a citizen of the world or global citizen. So IK is not restricted to India or the Indian communities, but we also can share this knowledge with others, or to the other countries, or to the world on global level. And when we are just collaborating and sharing our knowledge, we must keep one thing in mind, that it all should be legal practices and ethical practices. So these are some of the objectives. Actually, there are so many objectives, but these are some of the prime or main objectives of Indian knowledge system. I hope you got the idea of these objectives. If you have any problem, any query, you can comment below in the comment section. We'll solve your problem. Let's meet in the next video. Thank you very much.